Sun in Scorpio. This is going to be a really impactful month for you. First the dates. So Sunday, April 15th to Tuesday, May 15th. This is going to be a really impactful month for you because you're going to be experiencing your full sun month. Now with a full moon, we have the sun and the moon opposite each other, Earth in the middle. With the full sun month, we're basically looking at the time of year, about a month, in which you are all the seeds that you planted emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually back on your birthday in particular with your Astrologer return, but also during the whole month of Scorpio when Mercury is in Scorpio and Venus is in Scorpio and all that. So we're looking at that kind of region of time, but especially around your birthday. A lot of intentions were put forth that are going to bring fruition, blossoming, or not, and we'll get into that with this next month of Sun and Taurus. So this is a wonderful month to recognize, okay, what did I get right? What was I feeling back then? And what did it yield me now in this time right here? To be exact, by the way, the Sun goes into Taurus Thursday, April 19th. And this is especially significant because it's going to be opposite Jupiter and Scorpio retrograde. We've talked about that in previous editions of New Moon News. We'll continue to talk about that until November 8th when it goes on into Sagittarius, and we'll get into all that. But basically, this transit is a wonderful opportunity for you to grow. So if the intentions that you've been setting for the last 5, almost 6 months haven't quite been exactly what you wanted them to, you do have the opportunity to pull it out at the last second. We all do whenever we have our full sun month. That being said, there are certain things that we can't change the past, and so we're going to have to accept if things aren't quite coming to fruition like you would like it to. This isn't a time of beating your fist against the wall and going, the universe hates me. It's not that. It's all about karma. It's all about cause and effect. What you reap is what you sow. And so, ultimately, this is a time of, especially since Mercury is in Aries, this is a wonderful time to look at, okay, what has been right, and congratulate yourself for that. Especially since we're coming out of a Mercury retrograde time period, this is more a month of looking back. This can be a little bit frustrating because that Sun in Taurus opposite your Sun is like, okay, I want to go forward now. I want to move forward. I got this. And Venus is in Taurus too, so that also is opposing your natal Sun at the very least. You might have Mercury in Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio, other energies in Scorpio. That energy is also pulling on that and saying, hey, let's develop as per our relationships with others. Let's get pleasure. Let's enjoy ourselves. Let's grow. Let's get more money. Stuff like that. This is still a time period in which you will be able to succeed with all of this. And Mars and Saturn are in Capricorn as well, so you're going to be able to make solid steps, step by step. The outside world is going to be working with you to be able to move forward, to make firm, concrete actions that will allow you to endure any challenges that come up, to overcome them, and to plant seeds, to build a structure, indeed, for the next 2 years as Mars goes through all the different signs, makes its way back to Capricorn, and over the next 30 years, because Saturn is in Capricorn for the next 30, well, Saturn will be in Capricorn for the next 2 years, and then it'll move on to other signs, but then it'll come back into Saturn Cap. So these are a lot of seeds that we're planting, and that's something that's really probably the best thing to keep in mind. That can you make incredible progress during this time? Yes, absolutely. But we're looking at long-term transits more so than not, especially since we got Jupiter and Scorpio too. Jupiter spends about a year in each of the signs, and so this is a time period for you to go inward more so than experiencing outward success and asking, okay, what do I need to learn? What have I already learned? What do I need to teach? How do I need to grow? How do I need to expand? How do I experience prosperity? How do I move forward? These questions are going to give you wonderful answers, not just now, but more so in the future. Over the course of this year, as Jupiter makes its way through Scorpio, right now it's retrograde, so this is especially a time, in particular because we're coming out of a Mercury retrograde, so we have that Mercury retrograde shadow until May 4th. Basically, things won't quite be moving forward until May 4th. After that, from May 4th to May 13th, it's going to be a huge sprint forward. So, long story short, we're looking at, for you in particular, dear Scorpio, we're looking at a time of gotta be patient, gotta go inwards for my answers, I gotta go inwards with my questions. The outside world will be able to present to me certain motives for change, certain inspiration for change, certain people for change, certain resources for change, but I'm not going to be able to change everything that I want to change right now. And even though that's really true for any time period in our life, or practically any time period of our life, this time period is, especially with all these retrogrades, Jupiter retrograde. Saturn goes retrograde, I believe, within the first week of this cycle. Yeah, within 2 days of this cycle, actually, on April 17th. Mercury is freshly coming out of retrograde, so it still has that shadow period. This is a time of looking backwards and looking inwards. Now, we're not looking backwards in the sense of, oh, we're looking at the past and no, we're trying to understand, okay, what happened back then? How is it impacting me now? How do I change whatever needs to be changed, either for the better or stuff that's been challenging? How do I change that to be neutral, or try to make that sublimate it to being positive for the future? Because Jupiter is working with you this year to be able, as is Saturn. You have incredible support from the outer planets this year. Jupiter is in Scorpio, and is it intense? Yes, definitely. All the planets have their challenges. But it ultimately is helping you to transform yourself in incredible ways, being able to move forward, being able to expand, to understand how much power you really have. That's the biggest thing. The outside world is going to give you a portal of understanding of this is how powerful you are, this is how influential you are, how strong you are. But it's more so, Jupiter is saying, look within, discover what you already have. It's not about acquiring new things. Your plate is full. Now it's time to enjoy it. It's time to, Spirit's giving me another analogy, but it's kind of hazy. You already have done the bodybuilding. Now it's time to go do the competition, or to go play the sport, or to go do something with it. Does this mean do it all the way, right now? No, not necessarily. We are taking our time. Whatever your goals are, whatever your emotional intentions were when last on your birthday, that you're now starting to see the fruition in the outside world, it's good to take your time. Not only because we have a lot of Taurus energy going on, but also because of these retrogrades. So is the chance here for you to be able to transform yourself incredibly, to be able to grow exponentially during this month? Yeah, it is. And it's really exciting. It's awesome. It truly is. But keep in mind that there's going to be a lot of stuff internally and behind the scenes, stuff that's developing in the outside world that is going to show you the fruition of that growth months from now. Maybe even when Jupiter goes forward into Sagittarius. But this Scorpio season is going to show you a lot of what's happening now, because by then Jupiter will be direct, and so Jupiter will still be in Scorpio at the beginning of this next Scorpio season, around the October 23rd, 24th. But yeah, that's going to be the time, and especially later on this year, that's when things are really going to be moving forward. So one last thing to cover for this lunar cycle is, quick, I just want to sum up everything real quick. Move forward where possible. Take the ground in a peaceful way. We're talking about more like psychological ground, not like outside. But for that matter too, you are going to be able to make incredible strides forward in the workforce. Just as always, be the samurai, be the honorable warrior. Don't draw your sword and wave it around trying to prove your strength. You don't need to do that. Nobody does, but especially not a Scorpio. You have that arsenal with you whenever you need it, and utilize it to cut away falsehoods. Don't try and cut other people, even if they hurt you in some way. It's best to defend yourself, of course, but avoid being vindictive. This is a great time where, how do I put this? This is a time where there's a great temptation to act out. That Mercury and Aries energy, because it's the other Mars energy. Mars rules Scorpio and Aries. Because we have this retrograde, because there's a lot of tension, because that Aries energy is square that Capricorn energy, this is a time of being tempted to go, they did this to me, or they said this to me, so I'm going to get them. Really, it's good to resist that in general, but especially during a time like this, because with all of this Mercury retrograde shadow energy, Jupiter being retrograde, Saturn being very soon to be retrograde, and that Sun in Taurus too, you're going to end up spending a lot of energy in corners that you didn't realize were going to eat up so much energy, and it's going to be a waste. So defend yourself as always, but, and I'm not saying you have a need to be like overly concerned about defending yourself, but there are going to be certain times when people's egos will be out of whack. That's part of this Mercury transit, of being in Aries with the shadow period. That's just what happens whenever a fire energy goes retrograde with Mercury. But especially with Aries, where it's like war, like, let me prove something, let me say something, let me do something. sit back. This is a month of sitting back, letting other people do their thing, watching from the shadows, stepping out only when it's truly time to, and let your instincts guide you on that. Not any kind of lower instincts that are more focused on vindictiveness, anger, used unproductively. This is about acting with conviction for a peaceful resolution that is in your favor and that isn't overly concerned about whether it is bad for somebody else. You know, I mean, obviously we don't want it to be bad for somebody else, but isn't focused on like, I'm gonna make sure this development in my favor hurts this person. That's something to avoid during this time, absolutely. And the last little thing, and we'll cover this in future editions of New Moon News, but Uranus is going to go into Taurus May 16th. So the beginning, right after the beginning of this next lunar cycle, we'll cover this in the next New Moon News. But this is a huge time as well because Uranus will be in Taurus for the next 8 years. This is really exciting for you in a lot of ways. There's some challenges too. We'll get into that in the next edition. But long story short, we're seeing a lot of the outside world echoing where you've been internally for the last 6 months. Resist coming out of the shadows before the time is right. You want to fully develop before you put sunlight on it all. And as always, as per the light and dark within us all, the shadow side of self, that's a different metaphor. You know, different metaphor. In this case, shadow is negative. Before, I don't mean in the shadows as being negative in any sense. Just kind of like watching, observing rather than acting, being in the spotlight. So, but seen from a shadow self perspective, the negative part of ourselves, which we all struggle with, before reacting, I would reflect. Before reacting, I would reflect. And just seeing, okay, what is this triggering within me? Why do I feel this way? How do I grow past it? How is this going to help me to become a better person? Infinite love to you, my friend. Namaste. A better person and also more in tune with your needs, satisfying those needs, and being the phoenix, the highest form of Scorpio, which is all about transformation, rebirth, in a positive sense, whatever it takes, and getting past the ego and the need for power, and negative power. And that's what's ironic, is the phoenix has all the power in the universe. Peace.